Morning and welcome everyone to the Monterey Salinas Transit District Board of Directors meeting of August 11th, 2025. This is an in-person meeting. Remote participation via Zoom may be offered, but it's not required for the meeting to proceed. Please note that the meeting will proceed as normal, even if there are technical difficulties with accessing the Zoom. MST will do its best to resolve any issues as quickly as possible. So with that, let's just go ahead and I'll call this meeting to order. It is 9 o'clock. And Jeanette.
Okay, City of Carmel by the Sea.
Here.
City of Delray Oaks.
Here.
City of Gonzales. Absent. City of Greenfield.
Absent.
City of King.
Present.
City of Marina. Absent. City of Monterey.
Present.
City of Pacific Grove.
Here.
City of Sand City.
Here.
City of Salinas.
Here.
City of Seaside.
Here.
City of Soledad. And County of Monterey. Okay, Madam Chair, you have a phone.
Okay, thank you. And with that, we'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. And I would be honored if Director Pacheco would do this pledge.
We join in, I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We join in.
Moving on to review of highlights, Carl, and I thought there's someone,
Everyone seems to be on mute.
yeah.
So, okay, I'm glad you heard that because I thought maybe it was in my head. So, as far as the agenda, we have just several items on consent to take care of. And then the only action item we have is to conduct our every 4-year strategic planning workshop. We'll be finishing off what we started briefly last month. We have Jerry Benson, our consultant, is here in person, and I'll take you through the process, but it's going to involve some work here, some work in breakout groups, and then some work back here. And in all locations, there's food, there's hydration, there's snacks. So you should be well taken care of. And that concludes my report of the agenda.
Carl, did you want to mention the little dots on in front of all the?
You'll be using your dots later in the process, so leave your dots. We have dots in the breakout rooms as well. No,
Not needed.
not needed in the breakout room. So leave your dots here. We'll be using them at the end for you to provide some sense of priority to the work that comes out of your breakout groups. You'll have sheets like on the easel. We'll be bringing them back here, and you'll be spending the last little bit of your time here affixing your dots, like I'm sure many of you have done hundreds of times throughout your careers. That's one thing about strategic planning workshops. We've not yet gotten past the sticky dot phase in our technology, but there we go.
Okay, thank you, Carl. With that, we'll move on to public comments on matters not on the agenda. So at this time, members of the public may address the board on any matter related to the jurisdiction of Monterey Salinas Transit, but which is not on the agenda. So at this time, I would like to go ahead and open up public comment. And this is on anything not on today's agenda.
Good morning. My name is Clay Villa. I am coming here to address some concerns that I have about the MST Ride Service. The last appointment my husband had with the Wound Care Center in Salinas, he was told that he could only go around 6 a.m. and that was about 2 hours earlier than his appointment. And he has, as many people in wheelchairs have, pressure sores and other serious health problems. And I said, that's not, a good hour. But I was told there was only one bus, MST Rides bus. And we've been told that actually more than once. So then I called the MST contract manager and I said, you know, there has to be a solution for this. There has to be more buses. There has to be a more like appropriate time for passenger to arrive to his medical appointments. And he said he would work on it. He would work with the assistant manager of the new company that is overseeing MST rides. And I spoke to him and he said he would work on the schedule and get my husband closer to his appointment time. And he ended up waiting almost 2 hours and arriving 45 minutes late to his wound care appointment. And he was in tremendous pain and also bleeding from his wounds. And so there are real consequences for this. And I have said this before that South County is not getting enough resources. So I'm asking for more drivers, more buses, so that we are not told again, well, we can't get him there either on time or in a timely manner because there are so many other people who need rides and not enough drivers or buses. And so I'm asking the board to address this, that there is accountability. And my husband has also been driven around a number of times, sometimes I think 2 hours, round and round, you know, as they were picking up different people, whether it's in Mouse Landing or wherever, MST, a number of patients, and he didn't get to his appointments on time. Now, there are other passengers who have had this horrible problem. One person, he didn't get to his class on time. He's trying to be a barber, and you know, he's trying to move forward with his life. And he told me that he was going to miss his class. He was on the same bus the last time. And then another lady, she said she couldn't meet with her friends for breakfast before church, and she was late to church as well. And my husband also has had many similar problems. So I'm asking you to please address this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Norm?
We have staff that here that manage that program, and we'd appreciate it if you could meet with them while you're here, and we can get some more details because we take those concerns very seriously, and we want to make certain that we can address that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And public comment is still open. Not seeing anyone. I'm in the conference room and I'm not seeing anyone online. So we'll go and I'd like to thank the lady for her comments, and she's meeting with Norm now. So we'll go ahead and close public comment.
Madam Chair, we
Oh,
do have
we
somebody
do.
online.
Okay, thank you. Okay, public comment is still open. Andrew Brown, if you could unmic yourself.
Hi.
Hello. Yeah, just a quick observation. I think I wrote an email, but I'm not confident if that's going to be read today. But I just want to stick with the lady's rhetoric where South County is neglected. It is neglected. My email was regarding the 47 to Hartnell. Like you have to wait 15 minutes when you get off the 23, and everybody, I mean, everybody just walks down Central, and Central is riddled with dog poop and then homeless people. You know, nothing wrong with homeless people, but they just like gather around the sidewalk and they block it. And the 25, mind you, I do appreciate every 25 driver, but when I would get there back to the transit center, I would miss the 23, the latest bus back home. So South County is like really, I guess, neglected. As you know, not as much as the coastal towns. I think the coastal towns gets more attention infrastructure wise, you know. But it's kind of how it's always been. But yeah, those are just observations. I appreciate the staff, appreciate my bus driver, love them. And thank you for supporting them as well. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for your comment. And public comment is still open. Not seeing any of the hands. We'll go ahead and close. Thank you for your comments. Moving on to the consent agenda, directors, we have on the consent agenda items 3.1 through 3.5. And these items could be approved with a single motion. At this time, anyone the directors may request an item to be discussed or considered separately. Is there any directors who would care to see an item?
Move consent.
Okay. Second. We have a motion and a second. I will open that up to public comment. Public comment is open on the consent agenda. I'm not seeing anyone via Zoom or in the conference chambers. We'll go ahead and close public comment. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Oppose? Motion carries. So with that, we'll move on there to no need for item 4 or 5. We'll move on directly to item 6, which is action items. And this group that leads us to the strategic planning workshop, part 2 of 2. Carl and Jerry Benson will be taking over at this time, I believe.
Yep. So thank you, Chair. And we're ready to kick off our every 4-year strategic planning process. And why is it every 4 years? Because the last strategic planning process, we moved from an every 3-year to an every 4-year because so that it would cover the two-year budget cycle, as well as, if I recall, there was also some issues with the strategic planning cycles not matching up with the election cycles of your councils. And we were having people dropping off in the middle of this whole process. So this is the first time we've done a 4-year. And we brought Jerry Benson back. If you recall Jerry from 4 years ago, he's outside of the screen. He's out of the box. He's here in person. And so today we'll be doing a bit of a session, some session work inside the room. You'll go into breakout groups. You have your booklets here with some reference materials. Again, that was reference materials. It wasn't meant for, hopefully you didn't study it and memorize it. It's just really there for your references. I think you all know more about your own communities than we do as an MST. So we're going to be leaning on you. So with that, I want to turn it over to Jerry.
Great. Thank you, Carl. And thank you everyone for having me here in person. It's just a pleasure to be here. I'm having a little bit of overdose of natural beauty, but I think I'll recover okay from it by the time I get home to Salt Lake City.
And it's car week, so.
I noticed.
Yeah, we didn't plan that well.
Can you hear the racetrack from here?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You can feel it from here.
So a little bit about myself, spent most of my working career in public transit. I did 34 years at the Utah Transit Authority. While I was working there, I also did a master's degree in business and a PhD in organizational communication. Had a chance to work on how we make organizations more effective and how we create clarity and direction for public agencies like this. I had a chance to do our first strategic planning retreat at the transit authority I was working at in 1998, and then repeated that cycle over and over again while I was there. Since I started my consulting practice, Third Wind Leadership, in 2018, I've done a number of strategic planning initiatives, both with transit agencies, but also with private business, nonprofits, and municipal governments, public works departments of municipal governments. The work is similar in public service. In the private sector, it's pretty different because it's all about competition and market share and all of that. In public service, it's about how well do we match up our resources and our priorities to what the needs are in the community that we can impact. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So after, doing dozens of these, I can tell you that the record is really strong to show that when you invest the time and energy to get together and get clear about what's most important, the agency performs much better. And the analogy I like to use, it's like paddling a canoe across a lake. I don't know if any of you have ever done that, but if you paddle a canoe, you can only paddle on one side at a time. And unless you have a reference point that you can keep your eye on, your canoe path goes like this. Your strategic plan is that reference point, a rock or a tree that you can then use to kind of correct course and be efficient in your travel and get to that final point. So that's what we're about doing today. A lot of planning has gone into the session today. So thank you to the ad hoc committee of the board. Thank you to the MST staff. We've done a lot of work to make this a productive session for you. We have a lot that we want to accomplish together in the time that we're here, these 4 hours. And so I will just ask you to go along with the instructions of the activity, do your best to follow what we've outlined for you. This is designed for you to talk to each other, not to listen to staff or talk to staff. It's designed to give you the maximum opportunity to talk to each other about the priorities in your community, and then especially how those things all fit together in the region. Transportation is a regional phenomenon, and it's nice to focus on your community where you're elected from. But we also have to, at the same time, be thinking about how does our community work well, because we can connect to all the other communities. Our workers can get to work, people can move around efficiently. So the structure of the activities is to kind of set you up with some prompts or questions. We're going to ask you to reflect on them as it relates to your community, share your ideas with others, and then the staff facilitators and myself, our job is to try to compile that in a way that we can make sense of after the fact. So we're not going to get to a closure today. We're not going to hand out the goals and objectives and tactics for the next 4 years, because we really want to listen to you today. And then that means there's kind of a lot of work for staff and a little work for me afterward to compile all of that in a way that makes sense. So we started with the first retreat July 14th. We're doing this session today, and then there's quite a bit of work afterward. And a lot of you were here when we went through this in 2021. You may recall that then Carl and the staff comes back to you afterward and said, all right, here's what we heard. Here's what we think that translates to in terms of goals and tactics and measurable actions and what we're going to focus on. So that will take a few months before that's all wrapped up and you've got your next version of strategic plan. If you have questions about what we're doing and why, feel free to ask that. But like I said earlier, we're going to ask you to kind of trust the process. There's a method to this madness, I promise you, and it will all fit together and make sense when you get a chance to see what the proposed strategic plan objectives are that come from us and staff. So I'm not going to do PowerPoints today. We have a packet of materials so you can take them with you to the breakout group. So I'm going to refer to some pages in your packet. I'm going to start with page 7. This is the Third Wind Leadership Strategic Planning Model. Those who were with us on July 14th, you saw this same model. And this is kind of our roadmap. We jump around a little bit, but this is the roadmap we'll use to complete this update of the cycle of the new strategic planning. The great thing about what you're doing is you're completing the cycle. So we did this work in 2021. You did the work in 2018, I think, before that with a different consulting firm. And completing the cycle is really powerful because it allows you to go back and evaluate what we did, how well it worked, and use that information as input to working on the next cycle. So you may recall in the last session, you had a report from your CEO about the performance relative to the 7 goal areas, the strategies and tactics, and what worked well and what didn't work well. You'll recall that we did a survey with all of you and asked you to give us your glows and grows, the highs and lows. Those all are part of measuring the outcome. How are we doing? How well did we perform as we implemented the strategies from last time around? We use that as input then to what we're going to be working on today. And today we're going to spend most of our time trying to understand better what the purpose and mission is of MST, what our unique capabilities are, and how that matches up with the needs in our community. And it's the intersection between those two things, what the community needs and what our strengths and capabilities are, that create the opportunity for vision and the strategies going forward. we'll spend quite a bit of time today on strategies, and I should maybe make a comment about terminology here. People use these words in a lot of different ways, so I'll tell you what I mean by strategy. Strategy, if you go back to the origins of the term and the concept, it goes back to early military action. And you can think about the Athenians and the Persians in the Battle of Marathon. Strategy was the reason that the Athenians prevailed in that. And they prevailed because, and I'll probably get this wrong because I'm not a historian, but the point is, if you think about the Persians came, landed on ships, they were coming to sack Athens, and they were coming up a valley. So the Athenians were smart to kind of constrain them in a valley. The decision of the Athenians was normally you put your strongest forces, and if you had horses, you put your cavalry kind of in the middle,
There
and
you
then you
go.
have weaker ones on the flanks. Yeah, if some of you have been in the military and studied strategy, this is old stuff. What the Athenians did in this case is they didn't put their strength in the middle, they put their strength on the flanks because they were outnumbered and they were trying to, maybe deceive the Persians. Long story short, they ended up prevailing in that battle and drove the Persians out. So strategy is a decision that you make about how to deploy your resources to be most effective. And if you only have 100 horses, you can put 50 here and 50 there, 25, whatever, but you can't turn your 100 into 500. And that's true with organizations like yours. You have limited resources. And so the decisions you make about where to deploy those resources are really important, because what you put here, you can't put there. And everyone likes to believe that public transit agencies have unlimited resources, but you all know so well that we don't. So we're going to spend quite a bit of time on that. And that's what the dots are. When we get to later in the day, you'll use your dots to actually vote on what you think are the most important, highest priority strategies to focus on. All right, so that kind of brings us up to where we are today. Like I said, we'll jump around a little bit, but mostly what we're going to do today is start up here on purpose and mission and talk about how that lines up with the needs of the community. We'll talk a little bit about vision at the very end of the day today. And we have an activity related to that, and then we'll spend most of our time here on strategies. You all also completed a survey about the monthly report, performance reporting goals and metrics. Thank you for that. That was not wasted time, but that's actually going to come back and be used at the very end when staff is preparing the next version of the strategic plan to bring back to you. Associated with that will be a set of measures, set of metrics and milestones to calculate how well you're meeting your strategies. And what we heard from you, it's not surprising, some of those things that you see every month, every quarter, every year are really useful, and some are kind of interesting, and some maybe we don't know why it's in there. So we want to be as efficient as possible in giving you the information you need to make sure, back to the canoe, that you're still headed toward that landmark on the other side of the lake. Okay. A couple things about process and how we're going to interact today. So this is a workshop, not a board meeting. So, Madam Chair, with your permission, I'd like to ask if it's okay that we can have people speak up and talk to each other during the workshop setting. It's not how normal board meetings go, but it's a small enough group, and you've got me and the staff are going to facilitate the discussion. So if that's okay, we can kind of have an informal.
That is absolutely okay with the chair.
Great. Thank you for that. So let's jump in and talk about community issues and priorities. MST exists because there are some needs, challenges, priority issues in your community. I did a little bit of research to prepare for today and to tee up this discussion. And so we're going to look on
Page 11.
11, thank you. This is a summary of a couple surveys. MST does regular surveys of riders, non-riders. Also a survey done recently relative to funding for transit. And then the California Public Policy Institute also does some analysis about community priorities and issues and needs. So starting kind of statewide, a couple of the top issues for the state that the Public Policy Institute found were related to housing affordability and income inequality. And those issues apply to your communities as well, I'm assuming. It's a challenge for almost every community. There was a third level issue across the state, which was concern about environmental issues and environmental degradation. The priorities that came out of your surveys, now keep in mind, these are more focused surveys talking about transit, but you know, these 4 items I listed here, I think are worth thinking about. First of all, people want more and better service. That's nothing new in public transit. But they feel like when you did your comprehensive operational analysis that turned into the Better Bus Network, that gave you an opportunity to respond to some of the issues the public had. They wanted increased frequency and where you can improve connections and directness. And we heard a little bit about that in the public comment today. Your survey showed that people prioritize disadvantaged communities. So there's a sense among the public, not every person, but most people who responded to these surveys said public transit resources should probably go where people need them the most, where it's going to make the biggest difference in the quality of their life. They rated routes tailored to meet the needs of elderly and disabled, and affordable transportation where people lack vehicles as extremely important. And then access to social services and medical appointments is also a high priority. People value public transit service in your community. 95% on one of your surveys said they agree that public transit is valuable. And that public transit serves both ethical and practical purposes. So there's a reason as a public service for transit to exist. And then lastly, your funding survey, this is pretty good news from my experience, but 83% believe transit funding should be increased, and 87% think it's important for the entire region to fund transit. So let me, with that warm up, invite your perspectives. What are the most important public issues and needs, both in your community and the region, that you think we should be paying attention to today? Please.
I think at the beginning my name's Tony. I think at the beginning of the meeting, Mr. Tuviki did what we're supposed to do. There was a person that came before this board and asked, we have a personal issue.
Yeah.
We got up and they're over there talking. I think in public service, regardless of whether it's transportation or whatever it is, when that phone rings, when a constituent calls, I think that should be our priority, is to find out. We can't promise anything, but we can find out how it is that we can deal with that issue. And you know what? I hate to say this, but if our politicians on the higher level, and I mean this sincerely, and even in the lower level, if we only knew how to work together, not because we like each other or dislike each other, but to really put things in perspective, how is it that we can reach that objective without beating each other's chest? You know, who's going to get the credit? Who's going to do this? Who's going to be the leader? But how do we resolve that specific issue? One thing I learned from Mr. Sidoric, and I'll stop with this. He told me when I came on this board during the Abraham Lincoln days. Listening. Sidoric said you need to think regional. I didn't understand what that meant, but he taught me that. Then as I was working with the rest of the board here, I started finding out if Salinas is going to win, King City needs to win. So the objective is, how can we work together where we put the dots together and meet the needs? Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
I will add, oh, sorry,
You could go ahead.
just for me, the two things that are very, very important, and I think these also relate back to the public portion.
Yeah.
Customer experience and prudent fiscal management.
Like that. Let me get my thesaurus out.
So as Jerry mentioned earlier, I know you're used to
deferring to the chair to speak, but we're gonna let Jerry
Pick the next.
pick the next speaker. If I think it'll go smoother that way. If that's okay with the chair.
That's fine.
Well, it just takes out the middle.
Uh-oh.
You got a lot of power now, Jerry.
All right.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Speak next.
Spider-Man said.
So, I just wanted to make a comment on with MST that community, that we need to focus on the whole community needs, not just one jurisdiction, not just my needs. It's a bigger picture we're a transit system. We need to all work together and, so it's not like my city or your city. I mean, yeah, we've got input, but it's the whole network of transportation in this community. So we need to look at the bigger picture, like the Better Bus Network for South County and the disadvantaged communities. We need to, it's not all the services in one area. Look at the big picture so it works. And so that we could address like some of the comments we heard here earlier this morning.
Stakeholders involvement. When I say the stakeholders, for instance, if we gonna do a project in the city, for instance, in my city, I would like to see more community involvement. Actually, the actual people who use the rides, who use the buses. Because if you ask me, I never around here, I have never used the bus, so they have a different perspective that we have. For instance, the drivers, they see the paths, they see the problems. So it is more efficient from my perspective that they contribute with their thoughts and opinions.
And when you say stakeholders, it's mostly the people who use
People who use the service. Because I can think of what they need, but they know what they need. They are they use our service, so they have a better idea.
Right. Yeah, just off the version of public comment today.
Yeah.
There's a person with a story behind every trip.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, thanks, and thanks for coming down and being with us today. Under the umbrella of the public issues, as I see the service, and my name is Ed, by the way, and I'm from the city of Monterey. And we have very robust activity with MST because we have a lot of jobs. And so my perspective from my corner is I'm always concerned that we go into mission creep with this agency so that we focus on our core objectives to make sure we are responsive. And what's already been said by my fellow board members, I totally agree with the caveat of we always want to make sure that we don't pick up things we shouldn't be picking up so that we are focused on a bus transit system that is responsive to all the cities in the county. And that means that we have to be very careful with our resources. And we are stretched across the county and have lots of projects coming. And we're going to be focused on a very large initiative, the bus surf project. So always with the caveat of true service, but let's make sure we know who we are and not allow ourselves to just take on this or take on that and take on this, and to stay focused and not allow us to be fall prey to mission creep.
Great, thank you for that. That's a commercial for this strategic planning workshop. So
Yeah.
thanks for that support.
Hi, thank you for having me here today, board members. I have some comments on these priorities, prioritizing disadvantaged communities. And I think that everyone here agrees that that's the most important, goal. But what I would say is that eliminates, it sounds so strident the way that it's worded in this packet, that it eliminates, what I think is an important goal, which is to get cars off the road. And we see that, the surf project is a great example. And we talk about the surf project in terms of speeding up the commute for people that are going from basically Marina to Sand City and that. But what we forget is that in the future, the SURF project is going to be removing cars from the road. And that benefits everyone that's even driving. And I think that, you know, when we think about reducing congestion and removing cars, we expand the MST community, because MST community to some extent involves people that don't ride the bus. And those people, you know, the people that don't ride the bus pay for the services of the people that do ride the bus. And it reminds me of, you know, Social Security, because Social Security, you know, one of the reasons that the Social Security system is so beloved is that everyone participates. You know, it's Social Security is this, you know, sort of golden idol that no one wants to touch, because everyone in our country basically participates in Social Security. And I think we need to think of MST as a system that is organic to everyone in the county, not just the people that ride. Because, you know, reducing traffic on the roads makes everyone's life better, not just people on the bus. And it gives everyone a sense, you know, the people that are paying our bills, the people that fund us through these sales tax measures, it gives them the sense that they're benefiting too. It makes them invested in the future, you know, in the success of our agency. And I think that sort of, you know, I think that being able to say that to the people that don't ride the bus is very, very important in terms of the sort of the PR success of this agency.
Well said there, Brandon.
So I captured a couple thoughts here. Congestion, too many cars is a public issue that MSD should be paying attention to. And then remember that MSD service benefits everyone in the community, not just the people who are actually getting on a bus.
Right.
Thank you. Yes.
I just wanted to bring up the issue of the future of our ridership along the lines of marketing. Obviously, there's some trends that exist today that didn't exist in the past. With young riders, right? Young people, when we were young, 15 and a half, we were eager to take our driver's license course so we could have a license by 16 to not only go to school, but to work. That's definitely different today, where young people are choosing alternative methods to get from point A to point B. And we should see that as an advantage to transit. We're in our marketing trying to attract younger riders who could then be lifelong riders on transit. And I'm glad we have our programs with our community colleges, because they're having that experience to get familiar. They're utilizing transit. It's been a really positive thing. Obviously, then when it comes to our workforce, is how do we better market to our workforce that is trying to find ways to go to work, that they could feel confident enough that they could get there from home to the work site in an expeditious way. And then obviously third is our tourism. Here we have one of the biggest, over 100,000 visitors during Car Week. But even throughout the year, how do we better market destinations around our county where they could greater utilize transit to get to different places in our county. I just remember back in the 80s, the early 90s, MST had commercials on TV that had a lot of slogans that were catchy on people's minds. I just haven't seen that we've done that in a while, in a way that is intriguing and a way that really stands out in people's minds. So those were the three areas I wanted to talk about, because I think if we're not planning of how do we attract the younger audience and encourage our workforce who hasn't utilized transit, that there's a better alternative. We certainly should be thinking through that.
Thank you. Can I just ask a clarification? So your workforce, is it kind of all over the place? I mean, I think about hospitality workers down in the, you know, waterfront area, but then agriculture is.
Agriculture is certainly much more difficult.
Yeah, they're hard to serve
But
transit.
hospitality, there's a lot of workers from the Salinas Valley that go work in the peninsula. Obviously, we have the military base in South Monterey County.
Yeah.
But the question is, what other professions where we might be able to better tell the story of how MST could get them to work and back.
Great. Got it. Okay, thank you.
And Jerry, something I heard him say that you didn't mark,
Oh.
you have tourist marketing, but I heard him say kind of an overall marketing television.
Mhm.
And that's one we,
It was Ride the Bus with Us.
yeah, I know, that
There
earworm.
hasn't been a
We've
2.0
not,
of that.
yeah,
We haven't found a star yet that could do that.
We've done some television advertising, but nothing with that, certainly with nothing with that impact. So, you know, do we find a way to freshen, you know, we've talked internally, do we find a way to freshen that up?
Yeah, right.
Make it a little more, that is, if you
Yeah.
go back and look at it, that's a pretty cheesy commercial by today's standards.
But it's
there's-
stuck. And everybody
It's
said
really
it's the
stuck,
same, yeah.
so maybe there's some there, and so I just wanted to.
That's also related to your first point, which is you've got to be thinking about how you make whatever your message is relevant to the market and.
And among young people, they're using bicycles and electric scooters and other things. How is that compatible with utilizing transit? You know,
Yeah.
I just haven't seen that we've done a good job of that yet.
Great. Thank you. Excuse me.
Joe.
I think Joe had a comment.
Yeah, Joe from Pacific Grove. So a few weeks ago, which Carl will be, or someone, or Michelle will be getting the pictures. A senior citizen drove me around for about 2 hours, which was good. She bought me breakfast, which was great. I wanted to pay, but she refused. But so we drove around for a couple of hours. And of course, we hit Pacific Grove up quite a lot, which she saw a senior citizen. This was a senior citizen driving me around. And she said that she showed me the different locations. And one that reminds me of one in Monterey. She drove me one near Westmoreland House, I believe it is. It's a rehab place, and I'm going to use this for example. And the point I'm talking about is service improvements for our seniors. That she drove me to this one location where Westmoreland House is. There's a rehab house up there, and she said at one point she was using the bus, but it dropped her down on the like the lower 40, and then she had to do this huge climb, and she was in her 70s, you know, and maybe late 70s, and she'd have to walk up to Westmoreland, you know, and this was just a suggestion, which I'll get to the pictures eventually, get to, and she couldn't understand if she's carrying, at the time she was using the bus, she'd have to carry, you know, flowers all the way up this huge driveway, which is at least, you know, 45, 50 degrees, you know, 90 degrees and height. And she was trying to figure out why not the bus come around this way and just drop people off at Westmoreland. So Westland House, I believe it is. But anyway, the point is, the point is the service improvements for seniors. I think that's very important.
And I think that fits well with some of the things we heard earlier about responding to the public a priority, and then think about the customer experience. What is it really like for people? Yes.
Since we're having a conversation and touching some of these great points, I think to advance the conversation about the marketing and the choices of what we talked about back in the 90s of Ride the Bus with Us, it's that I think we need to internalize the thought. And I think Mr. Barron touched on this as well, is that our community thinks of us as a first choice rather than as a last choice. As a, like, I have to ride the bus because I have no other way. We want to have the paradigm shift that our residents, workers, students are looking at MST as the first choice. And I think that builds on that education piece of how do we get folks to think in terms of that the routes are probably going to serve them really well, and they can leave their car at home or not even have a car at all. Our public issue in Monterey is congestion. We have too many cars, narrow streets, and we need more transit with trolleys or small buses to be people movers. And Disney is a master at this. But I think we need to look at our urban crowded issues for Monterey and probably parts of Salinas. It takes you 10 minutes to drive a place that you could, maybe walk in 2 minutes, or if there's a bus ability to get cross town. So thinking in terms of first choice, not even thinking about a car, and also moving, maybe it's shorter distances, but it's essential for the one that gets health issues that can't walk, a half a mile across town. It seems simple, but that's impossible for some folks. So the internal connections where we have congestions, so it relieves the congestion utilizing the first choice of maybe mass transit. And that way is short transit. And I know big cities, Boston, New York, they do that really well.
Yeah. So you want this region to be kind of like that, where when people come for a visit, they think, I'm not gonna bring my car because I can get around without it, and it's easier to get around without it.
Yeah, and saves the congestion piece. And certain communities have more of that opportunity than others.
Yeah. I want to come back to something, we'll come back to Joe's point about service for seniors. What's happening to your demographic profile in this region? Does anybody have information about that? I didn't research it myself, so what's happening to the makeup of your population?
Well, it's getting older and it's getting younger.
Yeah.
So, there's the
If you-
trope, the newlyweds and the nearly dead. It's so you have a lot of
people who do work and pay taxes.
Jesus God.
So that's that. All right, so I didn't make that up. That's not maybe I shouldn't have repeated it, but that is it's certainly not a new line. That's for sure. It's what I've heard for probably 20 years. So it is to describe these communities that have, you also have a lot of people who, you have a lot of second homes here. You have homes that are, and this goes to the affordable housing. You have people buying homes who aren't necessarily living here. And that's making it difficult, for people who need to work here every day. So we do have, through our Measure Q, a lot of services for seniors, that maybe we should, from what I'm hearing from Joe, we probably need to do better marketing, because there's no reason on earth that person who's going to the Westland house should not be taking a Measure Q taxi cab right up to the door to door out of van, rather than taking a bus and walking up the driveway. We have a portfolio of services, different sized vehicles, everything from taxi cabs to minibuses to trolleys for tourists to full size buses, for different needs. And it's more than just a bus, and maybe we need to get that message out better, that there are alternatives for these different groups, specifically the elderly and people with disabilities, because there's no doubt about it. If you're trying to get to where you need to go with a bus, our bus stops aren't designed to necessarily, they put you within walking distance, but if you have difficulty walking, maybe you need to be door to door or door to through door. And we do offer those types of services.
I just want to mention, we have 4 people waiting in the waiting room online.
Waiting in the waiting room.
Where do you see them?
You got him in.
They got him in.
Okay.
Oh,
They were sitting there for a while.
Okay.
So they're all good.
okay.
All right, thank you for that. So our next, please.
Just one more thing.
Yeah, sure.
I want to piggyback off of what Ed's talked about if you've ever traveled Lighthouse.
Yeah.
Going into Monterey or away from Monterey into the Sylmar area, it's a slow crawl. It depends what time of the day, and it's a slow crawl, and even with the trolley, I've seen they're in a slow crawl too, I also think of a real future thing. I know we talked about New York, and I've been to New York and Boston and stuff, and their transit system is outstanding in regards to the tube, right? I know we can't have a tube, it'll cost $1 million, $1 billion. So, but a tube would be great, as a future transit, tube from, PG right into Monterey, Monterey back, so that's just a future thought.
The two.
Well, we call it,
That's
that's
why
in London, they're
that's why
called.
those things are built, because it allows you to have super high density of people on the surface without everything being impeded by vehicles.
Right.
And it makes those surface communities really vibrant and workable. But yeah, so we're pricing, sir.
Yeah, what I would say, to Joe is that, New York has made significant strides with its bus system over the course of the past years. And the way that they have done that is by getting cars off the road. And so, it's up to, you and Ed and me, we have an enormous problem. I have the MST buses in my community have been rerouted because they can't get down San Carlos because of the congestion. And so a lot of what we talk about, New York is halfway to solving its bus problem, more than halfway, by just getting rid of the parking and getting rid of cars. And I think that's certainly something that the three of us, not to mention everybody else, could certainly play a pretty big role facilitating that sort of movement in our communities.
So it's a car strategy, get cars off road.
I would say that that is more of a ancillary benefit. But for a transit agency to implement that as a strategy would be, I think, the diversion of where our focus should be at and our finances. Those strategies are best left to local jurisdictions as either in the form of the council or the Board of Soups, but actually more towards the priorities in the legislation that comes from the state. Because if that becomes your main goal, getting cars off the road, then how does that really affect where you're putting your service at? And then in a county such as ours, which is one of the largest counties where transit's a small operator, but given one of the largest amount of land that we have to serve and disparate populations, ours has to be finding that balance of how do we provide service that everyone can access. And so I was a huge proponent of the Better Bus Network, which I felt struck that balance properly. So I'm not against getting cars off the road. I don't think that should be a focus of a transit agency, but it should be an ancillary benefit that we can show because you're using this is happening.
Gary, I think if it's all right with the board, if I can offer something that I think the surf and what we're studying in the LSL as far as BRT, and we've done a feasibility of South County bus rapid transit. If we can incentivize and make bus movements easier so that we're not stuck in the same traffic as long with everyone else, where we can get priority signals, where we can get our own lanes, whether it's just for a short period, whether it's just jumping through like we do at Aguajito Road, where we get an 8-second jump on everybody else. Those types of improvements, I think, are things that this board can do rather than, writ large let's try to stop or limit the number of cars in our downtown. But if we can make transit more, if we can incentivize people and show the bus can get there faster and that you don't have to spend as much time waiting to park, which is when I go to Carmel by the Sea, why I take the bus, because from Delray Oaks to Carmel by the Sea, it takes me as long to park as it takes me to drive from Delray Oaks to Log. So I just take the bus because I get off downtown and I can walk to where I need to go without having to go out to 13th Street to park. But we can do that. Those are things that we can get resources for easier than the larger issues. But if your board wants to work on that, or city councils work on, we're all for it. Anyway, I just wanted to offer that up, is that the bus rapid transit and those supporting technologies, I think will help us get to where more people will choose to ride the bus first to avoid parking and other issues, especially if we can get a bypasser on traffic.
Can I get these three comments and then
Okay.
move on to our next topic? So, Mary Ann, and then, was it Tony and Fernando? Okay.
I was just gonna say, I agree completely with Mike and Carl's comments. If getting cars off the road, that's gonna be up to jurisdictions. I know in my city, we have a new project, we're getting ready to build housing, and we are not going to have parking there. So we're hoping to get rid of cars when people, as people come to live in our cities, there's not gonna be parking on that project, get on the bus. Or alternate transportation modes.
Yeah, just real quick into Mr. Sidorik's point, before I forget, maybe after the meeting, I'd like to know how we're doing at El Sausan, because we were having issues there with so.
Where?
El Sausal Middle School.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I would like somebody to talk to me about that afterwards.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it is. I don't disagree with the cars out, but I think it is gonna be a result, not a goal. Why? Because, for instance, if I will take the bus to be here, I'll have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, go to the bus, wait for the bus, then drive to Salinas, from Salinas take another bus, and then it will be crazy for me. I think that because of the area, because of our demographics, because of the different demographics in labor and work, meaning most of the people that live in my city work outside the city. They don't have a bus that will drop them at least 2 or 3 blocks from them. So it is very difficult, but I think that the MST is doing a great job by implementing circulation bus in the area, because if we want to solve a problem, then we have to start with small areas. And so that more people are using those circulation buses. So for people to use the bus, they need first education and routes, and they have a necessity. If I don't have a car, then I'm going to use another form of transportation, and that's why we put in the circulation buses. If the other thing that I think is that we don't have that culture. I mean, in cities like New York, like Mexico City, have a whole area of transportation. Those cities have millions and millions. Like Mexico City has 20 some million people. So it is crazy to drive from one point to another in your car is crazy. But we're completely different. We're not, it is difficult for us to take a big city as an example of what we want to do, because we have different demographics, different area, and different set of circumstances. I have a friend who live in Reno, and he said, "How many jobs do you have?" I said, "Just one." Why? Well, people here have 2, sometimes 3. Why? Well, because they can jump from this job to the other job and just walk. But we cannot do that. So we have to focus on what we can do that will eventually solve the problem. Just little things at the time that could improve transportation for opportunities for other people that don't have a car. And then we focus on the bigger things.
Great, thank you. Luis, you get the last word on that.
Okay, I want to on a different topic on funding, right? I think with everything going on today, I think we have to be smart and strategic on our advocacy for federal funding. Who knows what's coming next? It gets crazier by the day.
You don't know?
I
thought you do.
On the state, obviously, our $97 billion surplus is gone. So projects that enhance transit including surf and others, future projects are much more difficult. But I really want to talk about just a Measure Q, right? Because we know in the next 4 years in this strategic plan, we're gonna have to make a decision on whether taking Measure Q to extend it or to enhance it. And with that comes being able to tell our story so that when we take a question to the voters, they have a positive perception and experience of MST that they would want to support a local funding measure that we would be asking for. And obviously we've talked a lot, but I just wanted to just bring up one additional point why MST is so important to our communities. And that is as a first responder, and that's been our experience over the last 4 years during the fires and during the floods. We need to tell our communities that MST has always been there for them during their greatest time of need. Because it's truly, and all the Office of Emergency Management, MST is often brought in to be part of that planning and to help residents when they need to get out of dangerous situations. So I just wanted to add that as additional point when we talk about future funding taken to the voters.
Something we don't talk about enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Great discussion and great ideas. I'll keep those up there on the wall. Of course, referred to later. So now I want to shift gears a little bit, talk about, okay, here's all the things that are going on in the community, the change in demographics, funding uncertainty, the unique features of your communities. Now I want to talk about how is the world different because you exist? So this is kind of a It's a Wonderful Life question. If you've ever seen that movie, it's all about what George Bailey's life, the community, his family, what things would be like if he never existed. And so he gets to have a little view of that. And then at the end of the movie, you know, he gets to appreciate, oh, it's been worthwhile after all. So that's kind of what this discussion is, thinking about how is the world, and especially our world right around us, the communities that you serve, how is it different because you exist? And I'd like you to think about how it's different, how it will be different in the next few years. So what it's like today, how it's different because of what you've done, but also how will your communities be different because you exist? So I'd like you to individually think about that, make some notes, some reflections. I'd like your ideas. And then I'm going to invite you to share it with your table mate. So just a pair, 2 or 3. And then we'll have a report out of this, and then we'll be ready to move on to our next section. Okay, how is the world different because we exist? How will these communities be different in the next 3 or 4 years because MST is here doing its good work? Or if you like, it didn't exist, and how do we do?
We think I'm fairly irritating, I think of the rest of it.
Yeah.
This is. Well, yeah, yes, I remember that.
So if that's something you can reference them through, I don't think so.
Do very big. Yeah, very good.
Yeah, I just wanted
That's right,
to,
that's good stuff.
well, what it was easy.
Not all or
Well,
can do this.
do that access. 62%. No passes. We have, because otherwise the normal one.
How are you in the road journey? Right.
It's bad and good.
Oh.
So
If
you're
you're
gonna see that
by the way,
question,
yeah,
I think in terms of legacy impact, decisions we make now. How is the world going to be different that we can
My
make
call was better
decisions now
because you're in it.
the future?
Well,
Yeah, he did. And so I'm trying to interpret. So I'm thinking in terms of
Is that,
legacy projects.
circulars, most always be taking cars off the road, right? So
Around
I say
traffic.
how the world would be different, we think about local
My
or the
grandson's a
world.
perfect example.
Locally, just what I mentioned.
The next generation.
So
Something
like
between
the tunnel. You know,
He'll be
we
off to
took
college,
cars
he'll
off the
come
road,
back, maybe
to go through the tunnel, but now it's
He has to move
back and back.
Thank you.
Wouldn't
And
even
it
know what
was
it's
like
about.
crazy.
Where you go.
I might
It's
not
my
have
house.
chosen
Slow.
Especially bus system. Then he'll go back and
Like you're saying,
Legal
system.
Certain.
You know, like about my
Lighthouse.
So I know
Monterey,
that
I mean,
he places about one to one will have
that's
Or
my
ones that,
thoughts
you
of
know,
the future.
easier to maybe
Look
work
at
one
all
place,
that,
but not,
the service
side should be
not if,
because people.
right, so be.
We are line routes.
Whatever.
Or, you know, it'd be nice to
Canada.
have something like that that was.
PCs to deal.
You know, just
To get, you know, so
Everything in between.
into Monterey, then to
And
the
then
work.
down line.
You know, I know leadership is like.
Pacific Grove is.
Make it
every month.
Monterey.
Say it's so that what's made
So
better,
we have.
what will make.
You know, I
better
see, you know, what.
You know, we probably doing
About
in
customer
for the next
services.
5, 10, 15, 20 years of how.
That
How
people, you know,
will,
something would take and change, could get.
Where we
adopted
move people,
or
those jobs that
rights or like.
The
more
one that's
specialized
so
for that.
clean.
and identifying the job centers. Where.
And as far as the
those
bikes,
So it's
out in older
great.
town, the city.
They want to get their
Oh, sorry.
rates and
It's
race time.
That's why they need to say for.
So if we look at.
I do.
Yeah, no.
Get funding.
Like my daughter wanted to.
Funding for this.
In a car,
For the streets, not
so
means that
Hi.
we get street funding to lower the
Why?
lanes and then
Sir
to have
Dad.
one lane for bikes. So.
Small town though.
The cities
And I said, like, let's see how long it'll take you
grants,
to take
that's
that.
what they.
It was like an hour and a half.
Okay.
To get, you know, it
those
was like, it
cars
was
are gonna
not.
go both ways.
So it would be great if you went to a place where you're like, okay, yeah, I need to go to this event. I don't really want to. So I want to,
I just know an
you know,
argument.
do. And then it goes back to sort of those original, you know, terms of like, we need better service. That, you know, focus on those disease, you know, the Spanish movies as well, you know, maybe it's not important for my dog from Del Rio. Can get there. You know, certainly it's gonna be more, someone who, you know, lives.
I don't even.
That, you know, I wanted to bring up. My wife and I.
I think about
Yeah.
this writing the.
Yeah.
So it's my daughter and her husband.
Well, I mean, we got those contracts. We had worked hard at it, and that was one of the comments I made during, kind of, so that we need to begin to target this industry that are gonna need us. And you're right, I mean.
It's usually about 4.5
Yeah.
hours to get
Well,
That's how bad.
be
traffic
for
was.
some.
101. That's, you know,
But
that's why I
focusing
think.
on people who don't have ours.
Transit.
All right, let's hear from you. What are some things you all came up with? How was the world different? By the way, we're gonna take a break a little bit after.
Thank you.
Oh,
I'll go first. I'll just say that, you know, so,
At 12:30.
with this agency that we have, you know, cleaner buses, better air quality.
That's
Mhm.
the conference call.
I think.
We're able to give our community, we're able to move people. And as
That it becomes harder.
we said, you know, we utilize our buses like during emergencies. So it's a good service, moving people.
Great, thank you. How about someone else? How was the world different?
Jerry, I think we kind of talked about the same thing. Making those connections of where our job centers are, where people really need to get to. And start to talk about those circulation routes. if we really identify that there is congestion and it takes you longer, and well, why does that impact you? It affects your life when you have to add an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon of transportation, but the circular routes can be very frustrating because, you know, when you want to just get like a half a mile, like Joe was talking about, going down Lighthouse, that impacts business because there's people that will choose not to go to that part of town to do their business because the last experience was bumper to bumper traffic. So I think our real world now is congestion, and there's opportunity for MST to participate.
Is the world, so your point about business, are businesses able to be more effective because
Yes.
And then I'll add to that, because MST exists, we have kids that are able to get summer passes free or very low cost that without transportation wouldn't be able to go even to the coast. So from the South County to the coast or explore Monterey County. And the addition of the Wi-Fi within our buses is something that is a great benefit to not just the kids who are more used to having access to that all the time, but to adults as well, because they can do work as they're riding the bus. So I feel those were definite benefits because MST exists and provides those opportunities.
So I'm gonna add onto that if I could, Jerry.
Yeah.
My grandson is 16, and so it's a perfect opportunity for me to look and see what is his life for transportation. He's not driving, lives in Marina, goes to Monterey High School. And this weekend is a perfect example. He has a job on the wharf, and he was on the bus all over the place on multiple days. And it's amazing how much transportation he's able to do because of the bus, which got him to friends, a movie, work, to grandparents' house, back home multiple days. So his life is all around. How can he plan it through the bus route? That would not exist for him and his peers if it were not MST.
Right.
He would be stuck and left out of those experiences of job and friends. And those friends are from all over the different cities.
Yeah.
So what's different is these kids are scattered all over instead of being condensed. When I grew up in Pacific Grove, the street was loaded with kids. The demographics has changed that in our town. And kids are scattered all over, less congested. So these friends are in multiple cities. His best friend lives in Salinas, and he's a Monterey kid. So I think MST is changing their world.
Great.
I want to add, along these same lines, just MST provides access to other public services, critical public services. I used to work for the courthouse in the family law court division in Aguajito. And had it not been for MST, there would have been a lot of people who wouldn't get access to justice.
Yeah.
Whether it was a restraining order, or whether it was an issue on their child support case or child custody. Now that court's in Marina. But you literally saw South County residents who drove or took the bus to the courthouse and back. For me, that was eye-opening because it really shows these are they couldn't access other essential public services without MST being there for them. The other thing I would just add is that I think it's an asset is MST's intentional investments in different parts of our county, whether it's on the peninsula, whether it's in King City and now Salinas. This is like how we intentionally are trying to make these investments in the different regions throughout our county. I think that's a good thing, and and among our board, it's been very intentional as well.
Glad it's noticed.
I think that we left out also access to the schools, so to the colleges, so that for students getting to and from be able to get to school.
We don't usually. Is there another?
Jerry, Jerry.
Yeah.
And Jerry, one of the things that I've noticed, I've taken the bus from Salinas to Watsonville. In Las Lomas area, in the Prunedale area, it is amazing how many high school students that go to Watsonville High School. They get the bus there, you know, especially in
Yeah.
Las Lomas. The bus gets packed early in the morning because all these high school students and the way business is in that area, a lot of things are getting done. They go take care of their business in Watsonville, so it's a great service. One thing I have appreciated about MST, we're always looking how to make it better. And to your point, when you first started facilitating this, you said you wanted to you enjoyed a double take of the beauty that sometimes we forget how good MST is. Seriously, I mean, look, you got national awards. It's like the little train. What is it? I've never read the little book, but the
little bus that could.
There you go. You know, MST's got an awesome staff.
There you go.
You mentioned
Marketing thing right
you
there.
mentioned you got a PhD. Well, we got a lot of staff that got all kinds of certificates, and you know, so it's a great working place. I mean, I've spoken to several drivers. You know, our drivers now, Carl's drivers, I should say. They not only are drivers, they're social workers, and they're all kinds of stuff, and that's pretty intense.
Yeah.
So I think we're doing a hell of a great job.
So the last thing I want to do before letting you have a break, and we're going to go right from the break into the breakout rooms. So I'll kind of give you some directions about that. But I'd like to get your thoughts about so we've talked about the needs in the community. We've talked about how the world is different because you exist. So what impact you're going to make. I'd like to just get your input about what values and principles should guide MST for the next 4 years. So just first thing that comes to mind, what values and principles should guide MST?
A committed board that's focused on.
You don't mean committed like.
No, let's explore that.
It's
A dedicated.
however you want to put it. And I think what that means is how we can better the entire county to do that. Thank you. Thank you for your feedback there.
What else? What other values and principles should guide you for this?
Strong fiscal stewardship of the people's money. I got one of those calendars. I got many words under my belt.
Yeah.
Jerry, at its core, to be a service agency focused on the humanity of Monterey County.
The old leadership, and that was displayed with the CERT project. Lot of concerns there, but
Boldness.
our eyes were on the prize to get that across the finish line, and we need more of that to get more projects that enhance transit throughout our county.
So would you say visionary?
Visionary too. Oh, it goes the same lines, yeah.
Be old.
Customer center.
That turned me old. That's for sure.
You didn't have gray hair when you started.
That's along with our customer service. That's the ultimate goal, to have an excellent customer service.
And I'd like to add to customer service, has to ridership, safety of ridership.
Safety.
So safety.
Yeah.
And that would be, I'm just gonna go ahead and put it out there a little bit. I just did a trip with one of our board here. And we learned that in Kansas that they had offered free ridership across the board. And that kind of came back, it bit them because it was just anybody was riding on the bus and the riders were feeling
Unsafe.
unsafe. And so they are turning that around. So that was a decision made by the board that at least where they're gonna, charge it something to kind of keep people just from getting on the bus and riding around all day. So, and so that there was hurting their ridership. So that we, remember to focus on our customer ridership safety
Experience, yeah.
experience, yes.
All right, with that, gonna let you have a little break. Rather than ask you to.
No, that's
the
perfect.
breakout rooms, we're gonna make some changes in the breakout groups. That'll be different from what's in your package.
Just the, no changes. There are just some people not here.
Okay.
So, we knew, that, Jeff was gonna show up as an alternate before. We didn't know that Lisbeth was gonna get sick or Ariana was gonna have an issue. So, just go to your breakout group 3 only has 2 people. But you'll have to talk to 3.
So, page 5.
Page five.
And there'll be, where you, who you are and where you need to go.
So if our MST staff can stand up and let your, group know where you're going.
Do we need to take our book with us?
You should take your book with you.
Tony, where do you want to go?
What time should we do that?
We get 15 minutes though, right?
Is there a 15-minute break?
Yes.
What it states, yeah.
How,
Stay longer.
When do you want us back?
You took 5 minutes of your 15 minutes already, so no. You need 15 minutes,
We're
okay,
gonna be
10:35.
15.
10,
We're gonna start at, I think it's 10:30.
Here's the last day.
10:30, meet with your breakout group. 10:30, meet with your breakout group. 10:30.
There's
So,
like a lake, that a couple glaciers, like it's basically a river, but most of the glaciers in the lake. So you can see like. this is the
Tony, which group are you in? Do you know? It's in here.
But
You're taking.
There are 2 conference rooms upstairs.
They were gonna be given an opportunity.
here we are on the rainy day.
There really isn't.
It's nothing else in there.
So what we wanna do is.
Hey, Pacheco.
We're not done till.
Say the word.
If this is, that's even enough, then this will be. Come
Where are you
down to the public. And now it's maybe the next board.
Closed session room, where are you?
Sure.
Upstairs.
It's the lady that's sitting at the end from the black hair.
Está over there.
And then following that bar.
That's fine.
He just wanted to figure some odds meetings.
I think that one goes back.
Yes.
I wasn't sure. Thank you, thank you.
Oh, that's your alternate? Okay. Yeah.
One more comment. That's
Yep.
absolutely cool.
Yeah, you like that?
That,
Got this in Spain.
have your area where you're gonna be.
Yeah,
We're gonna take a.
He's like the main area and get together.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm back.
Just.
In
In
there.
You're with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, good comments.
You have the same problems we do, only bigger.
It is.
Upstairs, yeah. Upstairs.
But sometimes people.
Right.
So let's say I drive, I'm gonna get parked there, so I can just add 30 minutes here, 45 minutes here, and you go back to the day and you go, all right, you do tonight. Wasting a lot of time.
Get rid of cars, ban cars.
Yeah, especially now it's not. What they're gonna get is, but.
Maybe you don't know, because you're not living.
It's still difficult. Somebody's gonna get a party done.
So the best place for that would be with the back oak plant.
Okay.
Everything published that will be published a week ahead of time.
Yeah.
I've got a coffee tape on. All right, I'm gonna fill up my coffee cup. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right. They're always that happen.
And I did all the
The
archive
second one,
portals in
it's
order.
pretty
And
funny.
the street kept getting longer and longer and longer. I reached 903, and then when I got to the current day, it broke it.
Are these going in any?
Okay.
Mayor, you got dots?
No, it wasn't.
How many?
I tried to call.
Well,
them.
one, and then my daughter, she moved back, so now her dog, we call it the foster.
I did.
Oh, no.
At my house.
Base camp in the fall.
Yeah.
My dogs are quiet, so I.
Oh, you have to get it. I need little.
We're not yappers.
Mine's quiet, it's my daughter's.
Yeah.
But it's.
Oh.
Your daughter, the doctor?
First one of this year.
Oh, really?
She moved back.
Played 1,300.
The residency?
She's done, she's
Win,
done, and she's
100%.
working 10 days under the Pennsylvania
Impressive.
hospital here where she.
I've gotten 18 sixes.
Oh, yeah. Well, let us know, but the activity, let's talk.
I.
How many twos?
Yeah.
Yeah.
70.
We'll talk to, put her in touch with.
Lunch is there?
Chad Harris.
Those are.
The
Do you want to
CEO.
grab?
Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got two.
Wait,
Gotta get
okay,
excited.
I'm gonna hold the way.
Okay.
Wow.
Call your friend.
So you
Next
start
time.
with a
One's was
different, you
like-
start with a different.
Yeah.
version, right?
No, you gotta talk to me or
No,
something.
they-
First on the board.
Okay.
Lucky it's all done. Haven't
No, talk to the home.
I was like,
Uh,
like that, and I was like, oh, really? 50. I was like, that was pretty funny.
Did you find your coloring books?
Thank you very much.
I do if I put them under
I'm
your
glad my
hat.
hat was on top, not on the bottom.
Said he's not gonna forget it if we put it under his hat.
They're loaded up, ready to go.
All right. We lost our facilitator.
There's a lot of.
He ran away.
enough of us.
Well, how did that work for everyone? I know it was a lot in a short period of time, but it looks like it generated a ton of ideas. Now we gotta figure out what to do with it. Yeah. And I don't know.
Did we want to have them grab some lunch for the next?
I started to go and he went like this to me, so then he ran out of the room, so. Oh, okay, here he is.
Maybe that's what it meant, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, I want to ask you to do one thing before we break for lunch, and then we'll do another activity as we break for lunch. So the first thing is we'd just like to do a quick report out from each of the groups, and if you can summarize your opportunities and challenges as they relate to strengths and weaknesses of MST. So of your opportunities and challenges, which ones is MST well suited to deal with and not? And then we'd like you to just go through your list of strategies for your assigned area. As you're breaking for lunch, so after the report outs, as you're breaking for lunch, this is your time to use your dots. So you have an opportunity to place your dots on the strategies for service, for funding and finance, for facilities, fleet, for partnerships. You only have 7 dots, so make sure you look at them all before you decide where to place your dots. But we'd like you to place your dots by the priority strategies that you see all around the room.
Strategies.
Yes, just the strategy sheets. And then I'm going to add a sheet. If there's a priority strategy that isn't on one of these flip charts, I want to ask you to add it on a blank sheet I'll put up in a second. Okay?
We'll get that.
Okay, ask for some help to do that. Yes.
So are on the strategies, have any of those been duplicated?
Probably there are some. That's a good point. So if you vote on one place, we'll count it as, applying to whichever. If it's on multiples.
Thank you.
All right, so can we hear from our spokesperson for service? Which board member?
That's me.
That's you,
You
Joe.
can walk over.
I have to walk over there because also, no questions, please.
Sure.
I always start the council meetings. No questions, please.
How's that work for you?
Not too good.
That's for, the service strategies first?
You know what, yeah, let's just go through this service, let's go through your strategies, because the strengths and weaknesses, you can look at those as you go, but.
Okay, well, service strategies, we talked about addressing the boomer and Gen X travel training needs. an outreach, simplify the board reporting to allow staff to address service needs. Maybe condense, editorialize and condense the board a little bit. More outreach to Spanish communities, attracting services to the broader demographics, marketing strategies to destigmatize can't quite read that.
Transit.
Okay,
Sorry.
review, that's right. Review bus stops, review the bus stops, and look at ridership performance on those. And what else did you want me to do? You want me to just the strategies?
Just the strategy, I think will work right. Thank you.
Oh, what's the definition of 22
No,
to 350?
All right, who can speak to funding and finance?
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
So in terms of strategies, we talked about looking at grants and really supporting our grant writer here at MST, providing opportunities in terms of maybe additional people to help or additional education towards grant writing. Focusing on high growth areas, when we look at the areas that really need additional ridership, help with ridership at Salinas, South County. So having a higher focus on those areas just to increase ridership. Updating the interior of our bus experience to maybe make it more inviting for people to ride. We talked about partnering with K-12 schools so that the districts maybe can buy some bus passes that can help those students with transportation around their community. Promoting group discount programs. We already have one, but maybe we need to focus that more into high need areas that could use that group discount. Promotional campaign, like a reward system. It sounds like we're already working on that, but having some little rewards for high frequency bus use. Focusing on our CEO MST as being a spokesperson for MST, like he actually rides the bus. So doing a campaign that can show that lots of people can ride the bus, including our CEO.
You're going on TV, Carl.
Oh yeah, we have more up there. Okay. Review areas of city growth, looking at our housing element where people are going to be building houses and focusing on responding to those plans. Getting a CSUMB transit contract back, maybe even with CHOMP, looking at those areas again that we can focus on. Having a measure Q extension, looking at the 2026 legislative cycle for more money, partnering with other transit agencies to connect services. So looking at where rail is going to be going into the future and making sure we're partnering with them to make those connections. Monitor our cash flow. Look at with the new terminal going in at the airport, maybe being able to focus on additional ridership with the airport. Yeah, and we just say increase ridership.
All right.
Yay.
Great, thank you. Can we move along to partnerships?
Edward?
Tony, you're gonna help me with this.
Okay, partners.
This was probably the most difficult one that we ran out of time on, but some crossover to some other items that have been mentioned. So in partnerships, we talked a lot about cities, better communications and coordination internally, identifying contact points for policy. And only because we were forced to put a deadline on this, we put 60 days. We're not criticizing MST. We're just saying we think that there's an opportunity across the county where we have city managers, assistant city managers that come and go. We're pretty stable in Monterey County. However, we're not sure internally how MST handles that. And so, God forbid, he doesn't come back from Boston's conference and picks up the phone and says, I'm out, I'm not coming back. Institutionally, we think it's worthy of having the conversation of who do you contact, when, and why internally for MST staff. Tony, anything else on that?
I like the way you talk.
Okay. The next one, we talked about partnerships. Health Montage is the big one. I think Kaiser is coming into Salinas Valley. So we think that there's probably an opportunity where we liaison as much as we can. Again, not criticism for MST staff, but we just think that the big players in the county that are moving a lot of employees And as an example, to Ryan Ranch Surgery Center, they're building another surgery center here. They just bought the Spine and Joint Center across the street. I don't think we're robust in terms of our MST service to Ryan Ranch, where a lot of bodies come, a lot of cars come. So I think there's a partnership opportunity with a big employer like Montauk.
Edward.
What's that?
Amazon?
And Amazon coming.
Yeah.
So Amazon and Salinas coming with a large employer group. I think we talked a lot about, we're kind of in the dark about coordination, whether the Salinas city is doing that with MST. Is MST part of are they a stakeholder at the table as they are figuring out how the employees all get to work 24/7 at Amazon with maybe north of 1,500 employees with a lot of transportation hubs. So big question mark. We didn't assign anything other than 45 days. And that's kind of like, hey, we got to have a number because we want to keep Jerry happy. Colleges, we think there's an opportunity to build a better, robust liaison. We'd like to see a CSUMB return. We think that Hartnell, MPC, those are kind of going well, but I think there's always an opportunity for MST to have that partnership piece where we know exactly who our transportation managers are, how we work with them. Maybe that's an association, maybe that's an every other month meeting with somebody designated in MST that's meeting with the college representatives to really talk about conflict points and opportunities. The other one we put ag, big employer. Maybe the solution there is we pursue van pools, but I think staff at MST really knows how to handle that, but it's an opportunity to expand services of what MST does best to move those employees to where they need to move to.
And Ed, if I may
Yes.
add, I want to give Veronica some kudos here because she's a champion when it comes to communication, not only with ag, but our seniors. I mean, she's very well respected in our community because of her service. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And on that highlight, the capacity of one person at an agency to do partnerships.
Yeah.
There's probably more here than for one person.
Absolutely.
So that might be something in the future that we're saying, okay, that's an area that MST needs to grow its staff. And if we do that, we certainly have to lean on our executive director and staff to say, is there a work plan that's going to fulfill another part-timer or another full-timer to augment in the arena of partnerships? And it's an unknown. And the last one was the military returning to some type of service at DLI. Confliction points on Lighthouse, transportation problems in downtown Monterey. And Naval Postgraduate School is bringing in the Innovations Center, which they're talking about 100,000 square foot building at Naval Postgraduate School that could employ as many as 1,000 people, many off-site. However, it's a major change for the Naval Postgraduate School footprint. If it survives in the budget, so far it has, we think the connection between our military services, our association of military communities that we participate in, it's vital that we keep the Naval Postgraduate School. And if they expand, I think there will be an opportunity for partnerships to figure out, well, how can we help serve those additional people? And that new change to Naval Postgraduate School. But military connection requires a lot of effort on MST's and the city's standpoint to see if we can't do more for them and get them to play and come to the table, because sometimes they just say, no, we're not interested, and then we never hear from them. So we acknowledge that's a big challenge.
There you go.
Anything else, Tony?
You're good.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Parent, can we talk forever? Who's next?
You're the facilitator, aren't you?
And thank you for no questions.
Yeah. You're a smart man.
Focus. What are the facilities? For you, you see Joe's line out.
All right, so we had a great conversation. Ours was fleet, facilities and capital projects. We had a good conversation. Mine leaned more towards the fiscal side of operations. And Jeff had some great ideas regarding some of the fleet operations, additionally on some of the capital projects. So on our routes, increase speed and or capacity, higher capacities. For example, we did that the tour of the 2-decker bus. Looking at that as something that could be used for the South County travel. Looking at the new Salinas operation and maintenance facility, you're right, it looks like an F. It's like, what the F, what the hell is that?
What the?
Wi-Fi on all of our buses, it's an amenity I think we're all used to, and so the closer we can bring that relationship for the rider to something that they're comfortable with and useful for them, the better. Real-time information through our apps, gearing more towards the younger user, because those were, I think, we'll get more bang for a buck on long-time transit users, whether it's full-time or more consistent use of transit within their daily lives. So on the financial end of it, the fiscal portion of it, which is where I focus a lot of my attention is I do believe that we need to start operating at a very lean over these next 4 years. And focus on the core services that we're doing right now. Completing the capital projects that we already have funded, like Surf Project, and then looking at one new capital project, which would be the Salinas, what was that one called? The
OFM.
Oh, there we go. OFM. Because that is something that creates a choke point for future operations within the Salinas area and that growth. Again, focusing on the customer experience. So those are the things where drive ridership, but they go hand in hand, right? Customer experience is probably not as expensive to do. The reason you want to operate lean, and look, we see what's happening at the state. They went from a 97 billion surplus to technically what they call a balanced budget, but we all know that's not where it's at. So the funding for transit coming from the state and the federal government is unknown for the next 4 years. And the more that we plan for that without using our reserves, the better off we're going to be. And that will allow us to then focus on, maintaining our fleet properly, keeping our facilities running, keeping our lines moving. Back to customer service, bike capacity, we've already started addressing that, but we're still not able to put on enough bikes or scooters onto a ride. So those are the things that would be important, especially on the higher used lines. So people can get to their bus stop the way they want to, and when they get off, they have their bike or their scooter and ready to go again. And I will tell you now, so this one is definitely mine. I think we should stop all work on zero emission buses right now, because we're ahead of the game in many instances, but the costs are unknown. We're up to about $130 million. We don't have the funding in place for that. We don't know what's going to happen regarding state, if they're going to extend it out. And so we do have the exemption in place. And Jeff had mentioned it'd be a good thing if we do use the exemption that we coordinate that with other transit agencies and submit it once. So I really appreciated that suggestion. But that does take a lot of staff time and energy on unknowns that we can't answer, right? Because the state and the feds are gonna change what they're going to do. And those reductions allow those the employee hours to be focused onto the customer experience, onto the core services, and running a leaner operation for the next 4 years. So. Got my whole. I'm sorry. I hope I got all your points, right?
And Joe was saying, thank you for no questions.
Yeah. I didn't even get a hand, man.
There you go.
Well done, everyone. You've earned your lunch, but one more thing before you go get your food, place your dots. You have 7 dots. And if there's something missing that was not a priority strategy, that we would be remiss if we didn't include.
Add it to this list over here. You don't have to spend your dots here. We assume that if you put something here, it would have gotten a dot, okay? So go around,
Gary?
bend your.
A dot means you care about it and it's a priority for you.
Right.
Can you use more than one dot on something you really care about?
Yes, you can. Yes, yes.
That's not fair.
Or else use one thing, if that's the only thing you want.
Or you can buy a dot if you want.
Yes, black dots too.
Partner.
So we won't be able to tie you and Tony to any specific thing. That's the green dots.
I've got the green zone. Add it to this list. Carl, you were saying lunch is in the kitchen?
That's
Right there.
Oh, right there, great.
If people want different dot colors, I've got some in the back.
But you have to surrender your.
In exchange.
Yeah, whatever, thanks.
Okay, I'm gonna get out of your way.
We're gonna do this or just for us? I think everybody's using their own. It's toward the issue that matters, so whether it's on your.
Yeah, I think that's one of the strengths of this agency is you have all the cities, elected officials, representatives. Already.
He's 15. Everything's long, small.
Of course it is.
A group three, zero emission, finance, was that more of it or less of it? Group three.
No, I was just trying to meet the goal of doing like clean.
We're just gonna check.
Oh, yeah. Where's the double decker bus at? Who's your son? Here.
Really, on, are they on? Strategy.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
Hey, some of the. We didn't have a marketing group, for service people.
Financial fund.
Just having president.
Yeah, yeah, look at that. That's like a branding, right? People get excited, so.
Media, presence in mainstream media, or you can say TV, yeah.
You're not participating in money.
They don't use rock.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm here.
I think you should go. No, I mean, you said. Good talk to you. Yeah. Because. You may not be ready. Right. But there's a good chance you'll know.
The ARB is just not interested. We've been telling them, this industry's not gonna meet it and they don't. They take the existing.
So you have. We don't have an exemption yet.
No, there is a, no, because I negotiated the language and I made sure that there is an opportunity, but it has to be a declaration by the board via resolution and some sort of fiscal emergency. And it has to go to the ARB director for their approval. They can approve it or deny it. And you have to do it every year. So no one's asked you.
Yeah, our thing was you just need to get all the agencies to ask if they.
So that's what we're talking about. I think it was initially.
Or if they know like what this.
If I'm out of my dots.
All you gotta eat lunch.
Exactly. Well, somebody gets a lot of it, but no one's actually moved forward because of, no one wants to say they're anti greenhouse gas emission reduction, right? So.
Hey,
Whatever.
So.
Shows a political courage.
if you're not down here, Stephen's up here.
Exactly.
You want to put it
So.
You got an orange up here, right? The high growth area.
We're working on California Transit strategy for that. I'll make sure to bring that up.
Same one. And you got an orange on there already. You don't.
So I get more chips.
Yeah. You already voted on that.
It's over there. News, Linus,
Okay, I messed up, but then we talked about it twice.
It's an easy. Money selling is always question, I know.
I guess. It's all much it's the way it feels.
Yeah, one more thing on that, which occurred to me. If we recall,
I will in a second. I'm trying to take in the voting.
we're ahead of the mandate right now. So even if we were to ask for an exemption, they'd say, well, you don't need an exemption because you're ahead. So we don't need the exemption until. Right. We might not need it this year or next year, but year three of the plan. If we do nothing, say we don't.
Wednesday. My wife came up, so we're gonna.
So.
And
in
free the public, they don't pay
2005,
$500, where is it? Because we're in.
we were told that everybody had to be C and G. And then 15 years, then 15 years later, they say everybody has to be battery electric.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, we didn't plan to be.
Santa Cruz went and converted their whole fleet to diesel to CNG. Millions of millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars. Now they gotta convert the whole thing. There's real life examples.
Yeah, I want to be efficient.
Right.
And they got everything there, they got all.
You get a few sandwiches?
I got a cookie and
Oh, I feel better than.
I put one on your bus stop,
I think, how do you feel?
because I was thinking like those, they don't have no shelters and they're on your area.
It's basically
Sometimes the bus
26.
have to be out there in the rain or the sun or nowhere to sit, you know, that's them food, right? They've been doing a big campaign like that in LA because LA is getting hotter. You know, I sombra, you know, and so they've been trying to do a lot of investments on just bus shades.
Do you want us to unmute Lisbeth at some point?
There was.
I gotta leave in 15 minutes. Mayor, I'm gonna leave in 15 minutes. I got a conference call at 12:30.
Okay.
So I hate to eat and run, but heads up.
I'll keep it at 4:30.
Jerry? We're gonna start losing members at 12:30, so some of them, so not everyone, but at least one.
Not open that up, then comment.
We generally don't, not required.
No, nice.
When we come back with, the
really?
regular plan, that would be.
What day is that on?
Yeah, so.
Oh, good, good.
Sure.
It's always a fun.
Let me know when you could do it.
You got a free or?
I actually.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
So far, I didn't enjoy that.
Yeah,
No,
start when I got stay 10 or 11. Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna get out on Wednesday though, so I'll have, Fernando was just telling me, for no, he's gonna tell me there's. Three of them. So I might call. Yeah, one thing. I'd love to go see
Elimination.
them, but I'm not gonna work with that up there.
Well,
But
Saturday.
you can be, anybody can be. That's why I think I always tell them. They're Indy car. They would have a free downtown event like the Thursday before. And the last time they did it there, 1,000 people, like just autograph auto award and.
Mike,
Rosie
you
Quest,
eat your
Arnie,
dogs?
Mason Red. There was like all these kids and like, you know. If you're ever here to San you buy a ticket, but you like make them fat.
we put all those down on one item.
It's like, other people getting older and the crowds are shrinking, you know? I like the Formula One or whatever, but that's more high end, you know? And I wasn't a big car guy either, you know, my dad was like,
What?
he worked in auto body.
Copycat.
What's up, bud? He was for
Oh,
classic
it's what it
cars.
is.
It's not the auto body thing that are now. But
I didn't get.
I never went to the
I didn't
racetrack
get the
or
sandwich, I didn't get the,
now, I don't go to a lot, but one or two.
I didn't get the cookie.
I'm going to the roller queen, better.
This is.
Yeah,
We're gonna do my buddy Felipe, he's the supervisor from.
Colleges, universities. I think.
Well,
Excellent experience.
Where's the chief?
He maybe the prototype. I don't know, he does his second and second video. The old and the later.
I think when we come back with the report to the board, we'll report back.
That would be much more.
I get my parents.
From where?
Yeah, exactly.
And then we'll.
This year, they started doing like Formula One, again, they got the historic cars
Yeah,
and some of the
selling
historic
stuff.
drivers.
Hondo.
Oh. I wouldn't know who either, but if he's there, oh, that's that right, oh, this one,
Stuff out there,
that.
About $1 million, so employees.
That's all the challenges. I know you when you start never talked about one of those.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
We only do it every 4 years.
Yeah.
And, the world has changed from 2021.
We're doing,
Like-
our outreach. We'll talk our.
That's what they're going for. now, Although this was just that price.
A lot of things have changed post-COVID.
No, it's Saturday, 23rd, yeah. And it's the same day that the other car show, the car show. So both are gonna be next to it. They'll be packed on downtown now.
Let people eat till like, I don't know,
Place-
12:20?
Sure.
Okay.
The whole row of Diet Cokes over there.
Except for Tony, he's at Black Sheep. There you go.
What?
Thank you, MST, for my sandwich.
Hey Dave, you got that Porsche event today in Seaside? Yeah.
I haven't been at the meeting there for.
Oh.
Dave, where's that event at?
Kind of bad.
Thanks, thousands.
Where's the Porsche event? Bennett?
Del Monte?
Oh, Del Monte. On Del Monte? By Porsche. Are they closing Del Monte?
A good chunk.
I think they.
Don't you realize that if somebody's coming down Del Monte, that's how they get to Monterey?
That's what we're doing it.
Well, that's a good line, that's a good line.
That's what I thought.
You're letting the
Is that why
buses
you
through,
guys-
right?
So I believe, although you're not.
Not
leaving
today.
till 30.
That was when the trip was.
Mhm.
Well, they did this morning.
That's
a good thing.
Closed by now.
Yeah, sure.
You ever try and leave then?
Hmm?
Did you try and
They'll
leave?
reroute
Or
the
we-
vote.
Or did you get
Tioga.
limit
No.
your
Norm knows.
travel?
Probably guidance.
We'll figure
It's
it out.
almost all the way to
Hey,
to Broadway.
because you didn't promote MST going on the Laguna Seca track.
We did.
I didn't see it. I was on the news.
I saw that on social media. We did,
Yeah, the
Instagram,
trolley.
we did,
Fox News.
it was
I
also on
saw one of
Fox-
these
it
stations.
was also on Fox.
Did a segment,
Oh,
Yeah,
that was on Saturday morning.
you gotta repost that,
okay.
yeah.
I mean, I didn't see that we.
Yeah. They did the corkscrew, I went down and did the corkscrew and everything. Not fast, but slow.
Oh, the trolley?
Yeah,
So here's the nice thing, NTT, which is sponsoring any
Any car,
car,
yeah.
this, and they have a car.
I'm good.
My daughter works for NTT. And she's the director of PR for North America.
Oh, wow.
And that trolley car
Did I show you
MST
the?
will be in some of their social media.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, that is
Global-
really.
Yeah, globally.
Oh,
And
good.
so when she saw it, she said, great, they got, she confirmed it, they
Here's
got
the-
it, and it's gonna
here's
be
the thing.
some
Oh,
of
nice.
the loop, and it's a Japanese-owned company.
Yeah.
They're
Free media.
But the news that was there. But you could come back and pronounce it.
That's right, sorry, no.
Wasn't there. And then there was PTDU from the Bay Area came down and they did coverage. So it was, we think there's a segment that happened in the Bay Area.
I always know that if, even if Univision is not there, if you send them a video clip, she'll make a story
Right.
after the fact. It's always really good. Adriana Frederick. He's got to send her stuff. Your little press release, no? Oh, that's her largest Spanish language public station in the region.
And which one is that?
Univision.
Okay.
57.
Yep.
Adriana Frederick.
The problem is they see the trolley, they go, oh, cool, I want that in Salinas.
Yeah.
Salinas ready to partner with them.
Yeah, so this kicks in, right? We've got a council member here who might
There's your
want to push
pollution
that.
for Allentown.
There you go.
Well, we need her as our spokesperson.
Show me the money.
Mr. Barron? Take care of my lead, dude.
Tell you what, just give me a portion of every butt that's in the seat in Alisal on MST. I don't need any upfront money. Just give me like 25 cents out of every passenger. I'll go with that.
That's a lot of money.
All right, forgive me for interrupting your queuing, but in the interest of time, we're gonna move on with our last activity. So thank you all for your work today and your contribution. It feels a little bit unfinished, right? Because it's far from getting finished, and I know we didn't give enough time to do milestones and measures in the last thing. So that's just one more thing, Carl, to add on to the post work that you and your staff are going to be doing. And also, as part of my role is to help kind of make sense of all this. But really good discussion, and thank you everyone for contributing. This is all I could hope for, is that we hear from everybody. You share your opinions, what's unique about your community and what we need to be thinking about all together. So our last activity is just doing some visioning into the future about what it might be like if you are able to be successful with all this. So what I'm going to ask you to do, and while you're eating, is think about a future date, and you can pick the date. It can be in 2 years, it could be in 10 years, it could be in 20 years, or 100 years if you want to do, flying car, whatever. Pick a date, and with your table mates, so group in, a couple or groups of 3. Talk about your chosen date and then what that future would look like. And then what I'd like to ask you to do is write a newspaper headline for that date that says, this is what the future is, this has happened, here's what the community looks like. A newspaper headline. I don't know how many more years I'm going to be able to do this exercise because my kids don't know what a newspaper headline is, but at least all of us do. So that's your assignment in small groups, people like to you. Pick a date, envision a future that comes about because you've had success with all of this, and write a newspaper headline to describe that. That will help. Okay, and then once we're done with that, we will, I'll ask you to put those on a flip chart so we can capture them. So that'll be part of our record as I work with Carl and the staff to put this all together.
You're in charge. We're in trouble.
Newspaper headline or social media post.
That's in charge.
Social media post.
I will. Carl Fedork is a spokesperson. Right at the bus.
2045, Carl Fedork announces retirement.
That's
Good one.
And unusual.
Forcing everything. That is just thinking about my vacation.
Or probably 20 years.
You have such a good day.
What's yours? That's the part I want to see, like, only create.
Today, today.
We're in
I
the-
feel like
Right?
I'm really bad at this, so you have no idea. But you are better.
Yeah, 2045. I don't even care to write that because it'd be better.
You guys.
The Niners take it.
Someone's looking at the five,
And I like 25, then we'll pass measure, we'll know. You're gonna get the same or.
I would say, in my opinion, because we had to look at you things.
You won, it could be either 26, 20, but it'll happen before 28 or 23 days, right?
This is my. MST,
No, it doesn't matter.
Lost our mark.
is, let's see. MST.
Right now.
We need to have one day.
3 minutes.
To the.
Everyone.
MST with their.
Yeah, my foot can't extend that far.
And the rally to moving into the county
Like
settings.
the ability to be able to just like
Right.
So when-
Mary, I'm not.
Okay.
Really wanted to make a big.
In that times, Harold. That's where that specific.
You do the writing, because I'm not, I'm an high school teacher from way back, we're terrible at it. My wife was able to do it. And we had an interview.
For excellency, it's want to make it. And we want to make it.
So think about it.
What do you think?
For the day.
Represent your outstanding stuff in this one.
You want to have. So we start.
I can think of two things.
How many
years?
Okay.
I'll write it down.
Right.
No, I.
Get rid of our last.
Specifically where you say.
Something.
But now it's the question is.
Right.
Yeah.
50,000 people wrote MST yesterday.
50,000.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Or if you add a designer, what?
How many people ride in a day now?
Hanging out.
Oh, that's. I don't think they do it like that. You know, like a whole lot of. Yeah. They got it. Could be. Right. They said, right, I didn't know. See, but it's, what are gonna what that. That's why they.
I don't know.
Set number. It's easier to sell to what are they. It's in, no, it's 100%, so it's,
Everything. Now moves.
Just that.
They send.
He had another one. He said, well.
I'm just saying.
1/4.
We go right on the back.
What's your headline?
As it contemplates. Base.
I got a.
9,000.
Now-
They used-
Thank you all very much. Mr.
How about,
So like. Reasonable. We were at 14.
40%.
Thanks, Tim. Fernando.
of residents use MST, 40% partnership.
So let's say.
As I said, I think that was time.
Accomplished.
36%. By which is.
Writers.
25,000 people, right?
That's the goal is right.
MST.
So that's, it's,
Here we end.
2050.
Yeah.
You won't be around, but. So they
We're
were.
at 9,000 people.
35%. You're right, if they're.
I feel like.
I'm making
We're
that
at-
I
up.
want to say 25,000 people.
Yes, sort of.
What, are you gonna be alive by 2045?
Like in all.
Yeah. So that's 2.7. That's 2.8 times where we are now. So if we. By every
We found your history there.
Fully planned.
But 35% by 20.
It's still, I just don't see that.
What's a good headline? What's the story that you want to say? It's something that will sell to you.
7% a year.
MST controls the roadways. Still here.
That's good.
Ridership.
MST ridership
So-
increasing by
Because.
35% by one.
Not increasing, but
Are just being.
On
they
it.
gotta provide 35% of ridership of Marshall County.
I said 15 years, right?
Less than 5%.
Well, that's our
Percent of the.
MST has for 5,000 passengers a day.
So now you better put that out, 20 years. We said 20. 20 years. So I would say,
25,000.
Passenger day.
20 years. You have to say that you have my first choice of kids. It's the different trips.
Oh, you gotta have a vision.
Having a vision is having an evolution.
Question you asked them.
We're moving into the 22nd century.
Seventh grade.
That's got something that sells. You're a salesman.
I kind of like that because it's just simple.
That's right. So they want us to have 75% of nowhere to get.
Oh, we're just 20. I see that. That was 35, 45, you know, so by August.
Accomplish what we need to do, and then we're gonna move into the first.
What? 2045, 2045?
Which I have a good thing. Different.
Ridership.
We see, she's on 25%. That's right.
So high school.
That sells, it's gotta be short and simple, right?
No, Tony.
MST, yeah, no.
Maybe we can have the double quadruple bus. That bus, that we can get that. Yeah, this partnership in and out now.
But we can go to
Bus.
the model and just have on.
Yeah. 2020.
So the aspirational goal is
What about congestion?
stated that
MST, right? You wanna sell MST?
increased ridership.
You're supposed to write it in like huge letters.
Start. On this day.
That increases.
But you gotta do it in the bold newspaper font.
You know, like letters that have like an inside and an outside, and then you color in the middle and a different color.
Goals of.
That's 25 milestone.
Block letters.
Like that. Well, other headline.
That work?
Probably like 65-point font.
Yes. Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah. I'm taking notes since I've been giving you such a hard time.
No, I was. Thank you.
How about this?
You're gonna play that.
But I can't.
County resident, county, I'm trying to practice, right, I have to send out.
That's the lead.
Ridership,
And these could be like subtitles, right? I mean, underneath.
county resident.
Ben said the other day.
T reaches 25% of.
We're going to Iceland for the day.
Yeah.
We decided that we were not.
Breaking news.
We're ready to go to Pleasant Street. Okay, so. We're gonna go to public.
Are you serious?
Yeah, you're going
They don't.
Going nowhere, but. And this.
You bring it, you have to.
Called,
I said,
the buses are.
sure, but what are you gonna do? 18 hours we're on there.
Some brand new.
This phone is either some notes from this told at school.
Mission free, is that what it is? They got like 12. They got 2 billions.
No, but we're at, we're not
You guys are both gonna bring your records.
That's right. We go.
That's right.
On the way there,
I was just thinking like
on the way there,
and then.
you both have windows. At least, at least. Can I go?
Okay, what's down?
That's
Ridership is.
They're running a Bible over there.
They're usually
Bus.
We have people.
And they're doing some very.
Yeah, we're.
I just hear.
So we were talking. You watch this movie that you probably like. I bet you will like.
Now we got the writers.
So that's be good.
James Herrera.
Yeah, James Herrera.
Yes.
By the director, Paolo Sorrentino.
Those 75.
You heard it? Have you heard any? Have you heard of any of these movies? And,
Here we go.
We don't have time.
You open around, but.
We don't have time. We have to go home.
Yeah, but- The great movie.
He's right.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's find out.
That's a good one.
Looks really good.
Really?
Jerry.
You just a little interest.
Jerry.
Kind of antsy.
Here, eight, seven.
No, they're too long of a.
Watch videos.
We need to.
9 looks not much.
We need to.
From the library.
Yeah. So we have.
Okay.
In the Garden of Bees.
Looks like, all right. It looks like everyone is done. Can we just quickly go around the room and hear your headlines? This should be fun.
Sure.
Hey, Joe.
And
Which one?
we're done. Finish with that.
I'm gonna find you a newspaper.
You want to read this one for me?
No.
Okay,
All right, let's hear it.
okay, I'll start out. So,
We have a,
Monterey Peninsula Herald.
we have a full page ad also. online.
You even picked the newspaper.
August 21st, 2045, Monterey Salinas Transit has completed basic transit needs for the ridership on the greater Monterey Peninsula and moves forward into the 22nd century. MST meets goals of the state with zero emission greenhouse gas reduction, moving people efficiently and effectively. MST exploring water taxi service to Pacific Grove and Pebble Beach, along with air taxi service written by James Herrera.
Junior?
Yeah, that would be
Full
it.
page ad.
All right.
All right. Yeah, there's a lot in there. You probably do need that full page ad.
Yeah.
All right.
I think part of the mission was to create a stated goal. So first, our stated goal is increase ridership of those 35 and under. And the headline came out August 8th, 2029. Just out, MST achieves unbelievable ridership, 75% increase in riders 35 and under.
Okay.
So that gives us 4 years. Why 4 years? We want to get to the 13-year-olds now that are 8th graders. And they go into high school now this year and they change their habits. They change the paradigm. They aren't whining about wanting a BMW. They are okay to drive the bus because that's their first choice. They're driving it with their friends. And for all the boys, there's hot girls that ride the bus now and it's popular. And the boys don't look down on it. They look at it as the #1 choice and saves them a ton of money. So our headline is globally, CNN, Fox, all of the big ones advertise it. We didn't just leave it with the Herald. We went big. We want a 75% increase in that age group.
Nice.
All right, we're pretty simple. So as for perspective, we're about 9,000 riders a day. So by 2040, MST has first 25,000 passenger day.
Wow.
And identify that 20,000 on that day and give them a bucket hat, but it's surfing.
Will be collected items then.
We have two. The first, I didn't write that whole thing for us. Well, the first one was Metro Q extension by 2026, make it a 1/4 of a cent and make it permanent. So we can have funding for all the services and to be able to do all these things that you guys are promoting. The second one is MST Ride and Learn is the announcement made on New Year's Eve, on New Year's morning, 2028. And it will have Wi-Fi in all buses, individual workstations area, so the students and work people can do their work while they ride the bus to their destination. And they have a promotional discount program for whoever rides the bus. No age, no limitations.
Okay, we're meeting.
Just
Not free.
FYI, the first of every year, it's a lousy time to do a news release. Nobody's awake. Nobody pays attention.
Well, let's do that midnight.
There you go.
Before they do the
With fireworks.
celebration.
Tony, you got something there?
Oh, yeah. Breaking news, August 2045. Board MST board member Dave Pacheco announces MST reaches 25% of ridership milestone. 2045. Thank you.
25% of all the trips in 2045 will be made on transit.
There you go. That's the goal.
All right.
We're gonna need a bigger
These are
bus.
fun headlines. Carl's getting a little stressed. These are fun headlines. Thank you for-
will be around, so it doesn't matter.
He's a survey.
Yes.
So thanks again for.
So-
Will you leave these headlines? with-
Gary, the question is from some of the board members, what happens next? This isn't the end.
No, it's not the end. It's really the beginning of a lot of my work and especially Carl and the staff's work. So what happens next is I take my best shot at making sense of all of this. So I'll take all of the materials that you presented and transcribe them so you can read them, but then do a summary. So I'll try to pull what some of the common strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and challenges were, compile those into a summary, but then let you see everything. And I'll do that for each of these sections. Same with the service strategies. You help me do the prioritization of that, but I'll compile all of that. Again, let you see all of the detail. But then that report, I mean, the other thing that this headline exercise kind of tees us up to do is think about the vision. The work you did earlier about the purpose of MST, that will inform the MST mission statement. We talked about values, that will inform your value statement, and then what you have here will inform your vision. So it'll give you and the staff an opportunity to look at your current mission, vision, and value statements and see if they match up with what you said here today. Carl and the staff will then take my summary and translate those strategies into a set of priorities that are going to govern them for the next 4 years. And then, of course, for the management team, along with those priorities come your milestones and measures. We didn't have time to get very far in that, but they'll be doing that work to define how we're going to know whether we're successful or not. And then there's one more level of detail for the staff, which is identifying the specific action items or tactics. What are we going to do if we're going to do, operating more lean or improve the customer experience? Who's going to do what by when? And so you'll have the list of tactics like you've seen from the last strategic plan. So that takes a little bit of time to do. I think, we're in August. Last time, I think it was 2 months to kind of churn through all this work. So
we'll be bringing this back in, a draft form at a future board meeting in a couple months for you all to take a look at and then provide some guidance to see if we captured it accurately. And then take that feedback and then bring it back one last time for final. And that would be the time for the public to have their input. So we had this workshop without public input because it was a workshop. But when we bring the draft back and a final back, that would be the appropriate time for the public to have feedback on the document as we see it, unless there's something else you want us to do. Okay. There we go.
With that, I'd like to thank Jerry for being here and for going through the process with us, and MST staff for helping to facilitate us into the groups, and from here, Jerry will, like, as he said, go through this, bring it back to us at a later date, probably 2 months. And again, we will open it up to public comment at that time for the public to
You're an excellent too.
comment. So with that, Jerry, thank you so much.
All right, thank you all. Have a great rest of the day. I know I will.
And we'll have, we still have a couple things to go through. We'll go ahead and go through some staff reports.
Yep, you have the general manager's report, and you still see ridership is still growing, and you have to answer any questions.
Any questions? None?
And then you also have our federal legislative advocacy report, state legislative staff trip reports, correspondence. None there, but those are the items under reports and information, so be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Not seeing any. We'll go ahead and move on to 8.1, reports on meetings attended by board members at MST expense. I don't believe anything's due for another month, so that'll go on another agenda. We'll come back. Board member comments and announcements. Anyone? Not seeing anyone? Board member referrals for future agendas? Not seeing any? Okay, the item nine, the monthly report of June can be reviewed online. There is no closed session, so at this time I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Next scheduled meeting will be September 8th at 10. Thank you. Thank you.
Lock it or something. So you all get it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
To be proper, finish it up.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
You just got that thing on and.
Thank you. Well, we